Welcome to the launch of our new adult education campaign, Save Adult Education. I'm so glad to have the privilege of chairing this UCU launch and launching such a vital campaign. I'd like to welcome all those watching live and those watching this later, as this launch is being recorded and will be made available to members via the dedicated Save Adult Education webpage that has been set up as part of this campaign. We have some great speakers here today, so let me introduce these amazing people. We have Maxine Looby, our immediate past president of UCU, speaking on adult skills and education, the key to community cohesion and national renewal. We have Jane Thompson, UCU bargaining and negotiations official, talking about organizing in adult education. We have Rhianwen Roberts, our policy officer, speaking about the adult education policy background and her work. We're going to have three voices from adult education. We're going to have Julie Williams, Safia Flitty, and Pratibha Patel. I'll introduce them fully later. And then we'll hear from Paul Bridge, UCU's head of FE, with the campaign details. But first, I'm going to speak a little about the context of adult education in general and within our union. So the adult education sector exemplifies the situation all across FE, with cuts to funding, poor pay and conditions, casualised contracts, and a workload crisis. But in adult ed, the cuts are deeper and the crises are worse. As spending on adult skills and apprenticeships is 23% lower than the 2009-10 levels. Spending on classroom-based adult education has fallen by over 40% in the same time. And as we know, the DFE, the Department for Education, has announced a 6% cut to the Adult Skills Fund for the next year. So right now, staff are facing redundancies at the historic Working Men's College and at Redbridge Institute of Adult Learning, where there will be a rally against the cuts on Friday, 11th of July, that's tomorrow at the time of this recording, at 12:30 p.m. if you can make it along to Redbridge Institute. And I'm hoping that Pratibha will tell us more about the situation there later. But there are courses being cut and redundancies being made across adult learning. Despite the fact that we know that adult education is key to our country's economic revival and our social cohesion, so we understand at UCU that this history of neglect needs to change and needs to change now. When I joined UCU as vice president, prisons had their campaign, General FE was beginning its campaign, but there was no equivalent campaign for adult education. I began to lead an adult education group made up of UCU staff and NEC members of the National Executive Committee members who worked in adult education. This group has met regularly since and has allowed us to focus in on adult education. We renewed and updated the Adult and Community Education Manifesto, which is available on our website, and we put forward a model pay claim for ACE based on three demands: a minimum starting salary, an hourly rate of around £35, the end of zero-hour contracts, and professional respect for adult educators. There are finer details, of course, in that model pay claim, and you can find those on our website as well. And these were good steps, but it became clear at UCU's annual national meeting of adult educators and at the Further Education Committee, when we heard from strong voices such as Safia Flitty, who we'll hear from later, and at our Further Education Sector Conference through impassioned speakers such as Julia Williams, who we're lucky to have here today, that we needed to do better and think more widely about adult education. Because as these voices highlighted, adults are taught in general FE colleges, adults learn in charitable institutions and in independent providers. Adult education is wider than we were recognizing, and the cuts we're seeing are having effects across all those areas. Our government's prioritizing of 16 to 19 funding is being felt keenly in many colleges. The AOC cited the complications in the funding situation in many FE colleges, where large numbers of adults study, as a reason to delay a pay recommendation for this year. and we had already been telling them this problem over and over again. We knew that we needed to widen our focus and try and reach all those adult educators in colleges, in institutes of adult education, in the charitable and the private sector, and in adult and community education. And this campaign, Save Adult Education, is about reaching out to all of you adult educators and to inspire you to campaign with us to reverse the cuts to adult education and to make sure that our government invests properly in you, the staff who deliver this essential part of further education. So I'm going to finish there in my introduction. And next up is Maxine Looby, our immediate past president, to tell us more about how adult education is the key to community cohesion and national renewal.
Thanks, David. Thank you. I just want to say welcome to everyone who's joining us this evening. My name is Maxine Looby, and I just want to talk a bit about my experience of working within adult education in its many forms. I've taught in private provision, community education, and also taught adults in further education. So to me, this is personal. This campaign means a lot to me. And I know as a union, we've got an ambition to make sure that adult skills and adult education is now at the forefront of the conversations when we're talking about what our communities need and our colleges need to make sure that adults that come into the systems that we have, whether that be via the community or through FE colleges, we are able to support them and also deliver on the commitment to adult education and skills. So for many adult people who do go into adult education, it's mainly to develop new skills, and it also allows adults to gain qualifications. And we often say that this is a second chance for adults in terms of education. For many, it's a first. And I've seen and heard that myself over the years. Some have never had the opportunity to be heard and seen and their needs understood in an education environment. So for them, it's the first opportunity to be able to be seen and heard and valued as the individuals they are. I also want to say the value that adult education brings to adults, communities, and colleges cannot be underestimated. For adults, being in an environment that is welcoming, supportive, and non-judgmental builds confidence and resilience. And that's really important when we're talking about adults coming into a system where they may have had very limited experience or good experiences in the education environment, and also for adults who are coming from other countries and are accessing ESOL courses and employability and skills courses. Now, we know that Labour has a major ambition to deliver on national renewal and the green skills agenda, but let's be clear, it cannot and won't happen without adult education. In addition, adult education is the key to social cohesion. Our teachers bring communities and individuals together from all walks of life and from every corner of the earth. It is the key in developing local economies and diversely rich communities. This is what binds us as people. This is what binds our communities. This is what makes us do what we do to make sure that we can continue to support the communities out there who need our support, those who teach in adult education, to gain the skills that they need so that they can make valuable contributions to society. However, cuts to funding, which David has already spoken to, will have a devastating impact on our dedicated teaching staff. It will impact their ability to deliver those much needed skills that adults need. And also, it will also affect the way in which we can grow as a country in terms of national renewal and green skills. And for those of us who work with students, adult students, day to day, whether it be in communities, whether it be in further education colleges or across the country, we know what this will mean if the government doesn't take serious our demands to meet with us and speak to us about the impact up to 6% cuts will have. This is why we're launching this campaign. It's a Save Adult Education campaign, because all of us here, and you'll hear from some of the speakers later on, know the importance of adult community education and adult skills. We cannot build a country without making sure that we bring adults with us, and also upskilling and reskilling those adults to do the jobs that are so needed for now and the future. So I'm not going to say too much more, because I think it's really important we hear about what's happening within the community education and also colleges. So I really want to hear and make sure those who are doing that work at the moment have the opportunity to make their voices heard and talk about the need and the demand for adult skills. So I'm going to wrap up for now, but what I will end with saying is that we need to save adult education. We have a clear remit to do so within our union. We have the support that we need to do that. We now want the government to get behind that and take our demands seriously. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Jane Thompson, who is our bargaining and national official, and she'll be able to tell you more. Thank you.
Hello, sorry about that. Thank you for having me. Nice to be here. I'm Jane Thompson. I work in our bargain negotiations team at UCU, and I work, amongst other things, casualisation is my lead area, but I also work on ACE, and I've worked with hopefully many of you over the years. I've been asked to say a few words about recruitment and organisation, which I'm sure you probably all sort of groan at and go, not again. And you're going to hear lots today. We've heard already how important ACE is, I think, and adult education more generally is. I think you all know that, you work in there. You know how vital it is. You'll hear later about some of the initiatives we're taking in terms of lobbying MPs and petitions we're starting. And you'll hear from Paul about some of the campaign materials and what we're doing more generally with our campaign. But there is no magic wand to make any of this happen. And as any trade union activity, the strength of the movement to save ACE or to stop the cuts in ACE actually comes down from our strength on the ground. And that comes down to how many members we have and how well organised they are at the ground. And I know you've heard this lots and lots of times, but I can't stress it enough. If we don't recruit more members and if we don't organise those members, then our campaign is going to be so much weaker. The stronger you are, the stronger the campaign will be. And I think there are certain things that, although there are givens in any recruitment and organising campaign, you need to know where the members are, where the members aren't. You need to do mapping. You need to, go around talking to people, find common interests, get people to sign up to the union, get them interested in doing one thing for you. All those things is true. There are particular issues for, especially ACE, but adult education more generally. The huge amount of casualisation amongst the sector makes it really hard to organise. When people are on 0 hours or very small hours contracts, they're coming in at different times, really hard to organise meetings or any sort of get together, often don't have staff rooms where you can put materials. So lots of things that our colleagues in colleges take for granted just aren't available to our members. So we do need to have a think about that. If you're a member and you're thinking, I don't even know if I've got a branch, well, you can find out on our website. You put in your employer's name and it'll tell you if there is a branch. If there isn't one or there isn't a branch contact, it will give you your regional or national office contact. And you can always contact them and say, look, I'd want to do something. I want to help with this. What's the best thing I can do? Can you offer me any resources to help? Or have I got a branch down the road who is better organised, who I could pair up with and who could give me a bit of support? So doing some network in your local area or in your regional area is really important as well. So make those connections, get things going, share what you're doing with each other, because there's no point reinventing the wheel when other people are already doing it. Use the materials on our website and all the information and the guidance on our website. Use the materials that are being produced for this campaign. Use the petition and the letters as talking points to say to people, even if they won't join right now, would you sign this petition? Get their contact details so you can follow that up and say, have you thought about joining UCU? You become that stuck record and hopefully eventually they will. So that's really what I wanted to say. We've got a new email. So if you want to get in touch with us, it's just adulted@ucu.org.uk. So if you're not sure where to start, but you want to do something, just email that. So it's like adulted@ucu.org.uk. And yeah, try and recruit a few people, and hopefully we'll have bigger meetings in the future and the campaign can fly. And that's my bit. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jane. Organising is something that's really dear to my heart, so thank you for that. That email again is adulted@ucu.org.uk. But yes, go to the website, try and find details of your branch. If there isn't a branch, the regional officials, get in touch, say you want to help, say you're interested. People will be very welcoming, very friendly, very supportive. Like Jane said, this campaign needs you. Okay, next up, we have Rhianwen Roberts, UCU Policy Officer, to give us a brief update on adult education policy. Rhianwen.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with the figures. You've already heard about the cuts and some figures this evening. So the figures we've heard include up to 6% cuts in adult education in the non-devolved areas and up to 3% cuts in the devolved areas. But on their own, I'm not sure whether those figures actually mean anything, but what will focus the mind is this. Between 2010, 2011, and 10 years later, 2020, 2021, classroom-based adult education funding had dropped by 50%. 50% drop in classroom funding between those years, in 10 years, between the last Labour government being in power and the Conservative being in power. In the last few years of the Conservative governments, they did start to increase the funding, but nevertheless, even now, the funding is 40% lower than it was in 2010. So that should really focus the mind on how starved of cash the service has been since 2010, 2011. So, we're not here to defend the Labour Party's performance in the last few years. They've made cuts themselves, but we've got to remember where the cuts started, and we've got to remember the reasons why the cuts started. And the reason for that is, government has got to make difficult choices, but the choices it's made is to sacrifice adult education. And without adult education, the economy cannot grow. There cannot be access to social mobility for individuals or for society. The whole of society and the whole of the economy suffers without adult education. Labour themselves cannot fulfil their mission commitments that they won the election on. So if we go back to recent history, 2021, again, we're looking at the Conservative government. That's when it started to become a change in policy and the change in rhetoric. And the rhetoric started to become skills for jobs, lifelong learning, but with skills for jobs. If I go back to the time when I was teaching adult education, you had a range of options to choose from, a range of GCSEs, A-level even, but now there is a narrower scope of skills-based subjects available. There is a new body, Skills England, which cuts across all ages. That's 16 to 19 and 19 plus. So the significance of that is we're looking at two separate budgets. The budget between age 16 and 19 is further education, and the budget post-19 is adult education. So Skills England is a new body that's cut across all ages. It is an expensive body to set up. It will be an expensive body to run. And we've got to question, where is that money coming from, and what is being sacrificed to run that body? And the answer is that part of that money comes from adult education. And the other rhetoric, we saw a movement towards this rhetoric when we saw the term adult education budgets, which was called a few years ago adult education budgets, changing to become known as Adult Skills Fund. So the clue is in the name where curriculum is going now in adult education. So I don't have terribly good news, but I just wanted to focus your mind on where we are now, how we've got here, and what's potentially in the future. We really need more cash into the service, into adult education, so that there is more choice for more people than there currently is. And the next people who will speak. Okay, David, I'll tell you now.
Hi there. Thanks, Rhianwen. Thank you for that update on the background. So that there is the background, these terrible cuts. And now we're going to hear about how these cuts are affecting adult educators and their students and their institutions on the ground. It's my pleasure to introduce three voices from across adult education. We have Safia Flitty from South and City College Birmingham. We have Pratibha Patel. She hasn't arrived yet, but hopefully will do in time. If not, we'll go forward and then hopefully bring her in, from the Redbridge Institute of Adult Learning. But first, I'd like to hear from Julie Williams from City Lit Institute in London. So you can come to stage.
Hi, David. Thanks very much. Hope you can hear me okay. Thanks very much to everyone for inviting me to speak this evening. So I work for the City Literary Institute in Covent Garden in London, fondly known by its nickname City Lit. We are the biggest adult education college in the UK, with over 30,000 students, 6,000 courses and around 1,000 teaching staff. We offer what the older generations might have called evening classes, although nowadays we are open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We can teach you anything you can imagine, from pottery to Welsh, from computer science to ballet. If you had a bad experience at school and need to revisit your GCSEs in a safe space, or you're approaching retirement and still regret giving up the violin at the age of 14, we're the place for you. The vast majority of our courses are non-accredited, and most of our students are in the age range of mid-20s to mid-80s. But our current oldest student is 94 years old. Once a week, she'll grab her walking stick, board a train to central London and take part in her piano class. Afterwards, she'll have lunch in our cafe and chat to her fellow students before heading back home. City Lit was founded in 1919, originally to help soldiers returning from the Great War to find employment. I sometimes wonder, could her father have been one of those young soldiers? Maybe I'll get the chance to ask her. So we're not just about getting people into work, although we do that too. We're about community, we're about connection, and we're big on mental health. Once a year, we hold the Mental Wealth Festival, a full week of free workshops and celebrity talks given by guests like Ruby Wax and Grayson Perry. And once a year, our famous Deaf Day takes over every room in the college, attracting thousands of people from all across the UK to join in with activities tailor-made for the deaf community. Through our access courses, we've managed to get Afghan refugees into university. We help prisoners on day release learn to read. Our creative writing courses have produced a Booker Prize winner. We were the first college anywhere to teach deaf adults to become qualified British Sign Language teachers. In fact, we actually wrote the qualifications. During the Second World War, we stayed open. We even moved pianos down onto tube platforms to entertain and educate people who were sheltering from the bombs of the Blitz. In more recent times, when the COVID pandemic hit, we had to adapt overnight to keep our learning community together online. Not long ago, we suffered a major cyber attack from international hackers. It cost us over £1 million in lost revenue, but we came through it because we are resilient. But now we're facing £500,000 in unexpected cuts. And perhaps after everything we've been through the last 105-6 years, this will be the thing that breaks us. This time we can't blame poor college management. It's not about that. And it's not about declining demand from students. We're busier than ever, even though we've had to put up our course fees to levels that are starting to feel a bit uncomfortable. This new threat is a threat that's hit us out of the blue, out of nowhere. I know many of us here today are facing our own version of this story. I was at a demo yesterday outside the Working Men's College in Camden, a college that's much older than City Lit. It has a spectacular wood-panelled library, which is going to have to close, and the library staff will have to go. Many of our fellow colleges are facing devastating cuts to their essential skills programmes, especially Redbridge College, which we'll hear about later, and Morley College, which is going to lose 48 staff. These are the very courses that help people who have been left behind to get the skills they need to survive in today's world. I'm glad I was able to support my brothers and sisters on the front line yesterday. We need solidarity, we need visibility, and we need policymakers and the public to understand that adult education is not a luxury, it's a necessity. We are important. Adult education colleges are a lifeline for many of the most vulnerable in society. We give people a second chance to succeed. So let's stand together, because now more than ever, we need to hold the line. Thank you very much. And I'll pass back to David.
Thank you, Julia. That was really moving. I'm so glad you could make it. It's so good to hear from voices from adult educators, letting us know how things are. So I'm really pleased you could make it. Thank you so much for speaking. It was very powerful. And next we have Safia Flissy from South and City College Birmingham, our second voice from the profession. So Safia, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm really pleased to be with you all, colleagues, trade unionists, community advocates, who actually understand just how vital adult education is and just how urgent it is that we come together to defend it. We heard that, education is not a commodity, it's a public good. And yet we are watching as it is systematically defunded and distorted. Adult Skills Fund cuts have ripped vital support away from the very students and staff who most need it. This is not just austerity, it's an attack on equity. We heard, about the different colleges that are struggling at the minute. Morley College, Redbridge Institute, Working Men's College. And if we are not careful, that's going to be all of us. We heard from previous speakers that adult ed has always been more than just qualifications. It's about hope. It's about giving people the chance to transform their lives. Whether retraining after redundancy, learning English for the first time, returning to education after years away, themselves and their families. Adult education changes lives. We all know it here. But today, that hope is under threat. We heard from Rhianwen about the recent cut, but we also heard that this is not the first attack. For many years, we've been suffering. And I am going to translate this to something because I'm not going to go through the numbers, but I'm just going to see in the early 20s, the adult education budget was, I think this is important for me to say this, £5.1 billion. Today, it has been reduced to just 1.7 billion. So these aren't just numbers. We all know that. They represent real people. They represent lost courses, lost jobs, and lost opportunities for those who need them most. In the West Midlands, where I am from, we see how this plays out. At Southend City College, these cuts could mean course closures, staff redundancies, as is happening in other colleges, and the disappearance of vital learning opportunities for adult students. We heard from Julia earlier. In Coventry Adults and Community Education, they already suffered devastating cuts, losing managers, increasing workloads, and seeing wage fall so low that many tutors simply cannot afford to stay in the sector. And I have been working at Southend City College for more than 20 years, and this is what I'm witnessing. People who are telling me they cannot sustain that sort of life. It's impossible. The government likes to point to its, fund that has been given very recently. I think it was £300 million or something. But this money is targeted only at young learners, not adults. It does nothing for the adult provision that we are here to defend today. Once again, adult learners are being left behind, and they have been for many years. Why this matters to society? We heard from earlier from Maxine. This is not just an education issue. This is an issue of social justice. It's about who gets to learn, who gets to progress, and who gets left behind. It is about equality, diversity, and fairness. When adult education is cut, it is the most vulnerable who lose out. We all know it here. We cannot allow that to continue. That is why, and we must act, not in silence, but together. I heard that organizing is very difficult because most people are on 0-hour contract. And I think I'm really very pleased to be here because actually we heard about adults. The cuts are affecting further education, affecting colleges. So we can be visible. We can work together. One voice that says adult education is not optional. It is essential for our society. What can we do? Well, I think we've started today, but this is just a start. And I heard colleagues, previous speakers, we need to spread this campaign, talk to our reps, talk to our members, talk to our learners, talk to our community. We need to organize, lobby, alert the media. We must work with our sisters' unions. We must demand a broad, inclusive, fully funded adult education curriculum. We are here because we believe that no one is too old to learn, that no one is too poor to be left without opportunity, that education is a right for life, not just for the young. And I really want to end with this. I really believe I really believe that when I hear at the minute the government saying that it's about saving money, I do believe this is short-sighted on their part, because they might be saving now, but I can guarantee that that would be a disaster in the near future. I really can guarantee that, because I cannot most vulnerable in this society. What does the government think that they're going to do once they've done this, once they've cut out all the courses? Do they think that people are going to just disappear? Of course not. We all know that. So I really want us to stand together. That's all from me.
Thank you, Safia. Thank you for saying about how we need to talk to each other, and that's essential in our organising and supporting this campaign. Anyone watching this, you talk to your colleagues, talk to your managers, talk to your UCU reps. Let's get this conversation going and get this campaign going. But that was brilliant. And I'd also like to thank you, Safia, for your work on our Further Education Committee, where you are an amazing advocate for adult education within our union. So thank you for that. Now, our third voice from the profession is Pratibha Patel from Redbridge Institute of Adult Learning, who's arrived. So please, Pratibha, we want to hear what's going on.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's feeling cool, firstly. I'm Pratibha, and I'm a branch secretary at Redbridge Institute of Adult Education. So my journey started years ago when I was made redundant from a company. I was a single mother, 2 young kids, and I had to look for a job somewhere. And I had no clue where to start, what to do. So I was just looking at courses, what I can do, what I can't do. And suddenly I came across a course with adult education. And that was my journey at the start. And the tutor taking the course was really, really impressed with what I could do. And he sort of suggested to me that I apply for a post as a lecturer. And I thought, not sure if I want to do that. But I still applied for it, and I started my teaching journey at that point. So that was the start of my teaching journey, and I have been teaching for almost over 20 years now. And from what I see is adults come to learn. It's not just a case of them doing a course. They're there for more than one thing. Adult and community education is about helping people build the skills and confidence they need to reach their goals. Whether that's getting into work, changing careers, which I see often, or just learning something for themselves. Example are creative arts, jewelry making. And it's all about meeting learners where they are, valuing their experiences, and making learning respectful, useful, and relevant. At adult and community education, we see the impact every day. Learners grow in confidence, improve their well-being and mental health, and build essential skills like teamwork and communication, which all comes into play when they're looking for employment. They learn new things, make new friends, for them from all kinds of backgrounds. And it's really good to be able to join different cultures, know the experiences, what people see, different things, different way people think as well in a different cultural background. So that's important, to have different cultural friends. Adult education gives people a chance they might not have had when they were younger, maybe at school, didn't work out for them due to being unhappy during their school days. They didn't like the teacher, whatever it was. So that was their first, this is about giving them their first chance, really. Maybe, or maybe they've come from another country, which we are seeing a lot of, and need support finding their feet. Adult education isn't just about ESOL, English and maths. It's about second chances, about giving adults a real shot at changing their lives. And that's why it's so important we support them properly. But the truth is, we are currently in crisis. Cuts are happening right now, not in September. Courses are disappearing. I have seen this happen since 2019. Every year, a course disappears. Every year, something disappears. And this is getting worse every year. Vocational subjects, the one that help people find jobs, are being scrapped. We are constantly being restructured and our jobs are being deleted. And I have to say, my job is being deleted as well. Not happy, but here I am still fighting. We need action now. We need a campaign to stop these cuts and protect adult education. The government wants to turn the economy around. However, by cutting the funding, they've made some people unemployed. As other jobs are deleted and learners are being left with fewer opportunities to learn or to improve their well-being or their knowledge, which is something that's so valuable that the government does not really see this. It's time to lobby Parliament. It's time to speak out. We have been ignored for too long. There has been no change in funding since 2019. And in my current place, accounting courses, I'm an accounting tutor, so my courses are really being scrapped. There are lots of people who are willing to go and learn accounting to get a good job, but they are not going to be given this opportunity. So all I say, it's time for Paul to lead the campaign to reverse the cuts to adult education. We can't afford to wait any longer, really. And I'm still here trying to fight this. Even though my job has been deleted, I'm still trying to fight this. I know adult community education changes people's lives. Let's fight it to keep it going. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Pratibha. I really appreciate you being able to make it to this launch, and solidarity to you and all those whose jobs are under threat. Now, I have the great pleasure of introducing Paul Bridge, UCU Head of FE, with full details of our new adult education campaign, Save Adult Education. Paul.
Thank you, David, and it's evening, isn't it? Evening, everyone. But I want to start by commenting on the 3 contributions we've had from our reps, who are education professionals delivering adult education on the ground and have been doing it for a number of years. And you just get a sense from what they're saying and how powerfully they say it and how committed they are to the endeavour that they're engaged in, that this is something this union should and could have been doing more about promoting in recent years. But let me be clear with everyone on this call. We're now on top of this. We've talked about the needs for a coherent joined up campaign. You're going to get that. We've talked about a need for investing resources in delivering to make sure our members' voices are heard at the point at which decisions are made, and that's in the political sphere. And you're going to get that. And I'm going to talk about these things, but more as well. I'm going to also talk about how working together, which has been a consistent theme of what's been said during this launch, how working together is much more effective than trying to do things separately, but with really good intentions. So that's part of the build here in regards to this campaign. I'm really pleased to be at the launch event, and I'm excited by the campaign to save adult education. I'm going to give you an overview of what the campaign is about, its building blocks, some of the timelines and some of the resources and the events that go with that. I'm also going to talk about, I hope, the campaign that reaches all parts of where adult education is delivered. And I think David at the top of the meeting talked about our members that work in combined authorities or local authorities or further education colleges or other providers. That's what this campaign is designed to do. It's about representing and reflecting and then campaigning hard to save adult ed wherever it's delivered. The launch of this campaign also coincides with these devastating cuts that colleagues have talked in much more detail than me, because I understand the impact of the numbers here that are at stake. And these are really big numbers. But the reality of it is, on the ground, two things are happening. Courses are being closed and our members are losing their jobs. And I want to be very clear with everyone on the call this evening. UCU will fight all job losses. UCU sees any attack on our members as an attack that we will respond to. And I'll be at Redbridge tomorrow, and I hope I have the opportunity to talk to local politicians and council leaders, because I'll be giving them a very unambiguous and clear message from UCU that we will fight all job losses and we will fight for provision of adult education in that borough. I'm going to start now, colleagues, to turn to the core elements of the campaign and what the demands are. We are about saving education, adult provision within those areas where it's provided. And it is a mixed bag, but we are going to have a dynamic campaign that responds to all of those demands. We're going to be talking at the highest level of government to lobby them to reverse the cuts to the Adult Skills Fund. Rhianwen talked about how that impacts in devolved and non-devolved areas, but it's also it's impacting across the piece. FE generally, and specifically adult education, fall into the categories of unprotected budgets. They're easy pickings for politicians because they think they can take the hit, recycle the money and put it somewhere else and get more kudos from it. But we're not going to let them get away with a free hit, because we're going to start campaigning and exposing in a focused and deliberate way with a targeting of MPs in their constituencies and the impact that it's having in their constituencies, and what they're concerned about are votes. And we will make sure that they are attuned to and aware of our campaign. For a government that's been elected for change, it was voted, but not for more of the same, that it was voted for something different. We are getting more of the same. It's not acceptable, and we will be making that absolutely clear to the politicians and to the MPs that will be coming to what we're going to organise in the autumn, which is a lobby. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Some of the irony here is that we've got a government that's desperate for growth, yet it's cutting off its nose to spite its face in regards to the role that adult community education will have wherever and whenever skills and employment come into the discussion. These areas are glossed over. I was talking to the DFE last week, and they seemingly were unaware that this part of the equation, adult education, was being treated differently from general FE. So we've got bits of a dysfunction going on at the heart of government. We'll make sure that's very clearly understood as part of this campaign. We've got 800,000, probably growing, young people not in employment, not having the opportunities to train and be part of education. The cuts will exacerbate that and not make it worse. And I think Safia made reference to this. This has to be a joined up and will be a joined up campaign. And part of that is to take it not only to the MPs, but to the metro mayors. It will be taking it to employers as well. And I know some of the employers are making some positive noises, and we'll explore that with them. But we will be taking the need for adult skills and education as far and as wide as we can within England, because it's the opportunity that's been missed for too long. And it's the poor relation that's been used to be fleeced. So other areas of an agenda that's necessarily not working could be propped up to give the impression that there's a coherent strategic plan in place across education and skills. And I'm yet to see it. I want to talk to you about briefly, because I know now that we're up against the clock, which is a good thing, because we wanted to hear from our reps. The key elements of our campaign will form the following. There'll be a petition that's going live this evening on a dedicated part of the UCU website. If you go onto the front page now, you'll see a Save Education link, Save Adult Education link on that. You click on that, you'll get through to a dedicated page. We're going to populate that page over time with new resources, additional materials, communications, and all of those things, and downloadable resources. But what we've got on it now, and we'll be communicating this out to branches and members in due course, is that the petition's on there. If we think most recently we did an FE petition, we got 6,000 signatures. We want more. We want more than that. We're going to be ambitious, and we're going to take this stuff out to the streets and the community where we know we've got support, where we know adult and community education resonates within communities. So that's the first thing. The petition goes live today. There are template letters on there for MPs that can be used now to put the pressure back on the decision makers. We're going to adapt those so we can send them to local authorities, to college employers, to private providers. We will have a range of resources for you. The first ones are on there now. We've got communications going out to branches and members about this campaign, and that will continue, and we'll continue to have regular updates and features like we do with FE, like we do with prisons. We're going to be doing that with adult education as well. We've got the bare bones of a lobby that we're going to be doing in the autumn, in the new academic year. We want to get that right, so we're going to be consulting widely with our reps on that. But let's be clear, we're going to do one. We're going to take one to the heart of government as well, and we're going to base it on the successes that we've had with our FE and our prison lobbies as well. So we've got a blueprint that we can use, and we're going to roll that out for our members and our reps in adult and community education. I'm going to finish on this point, so we're all clear, colleagues. This union will fight all job losses. We're committed to doing that, and we will be coming back to do more of these type of events to make sure that all our members that are under threat of redundancy can find assurance and reassurance within their union, because we're not giving up on you. Your employers might be, but we are not, and we're going to fight back. Thank you. Solidarity, brothers and sisters. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul, for that strong message from UCU, from the heart of UCU. So we are now coming to the end of this launch, and I want to thank all our speakers today, and I want to thank all of our UCU staff who've worked hard on getting this campaign ready. And I hope that this launch has really communicated to you watching that the cuts to adult education are affecting so many areas of further education, from colleges to institutes to community education. But we won't win without educators, without you who are watching getting involved. So search for the webpage. You can see the website there, or you can just search UCU Save Adult Education, and access that petition. Find out more about what we're doing and how to get involved. We heard earlier, City Lit has 30,000 students. Let's get all those students signing that petition. Let's get our students and our staff signing that petition and making it really strong. So thank you. Our campaign is up and running.